Yes. So how would you answer this question, Alan?
Well, my work is really based on the premise that, we've depleted the planet for millennia, and we've been pillaging and exploiting ecosystems. And if you look at the history of civilization as we know it in the West, it's the history of civilization springing up, using up all the resources and going into terminal decline, and civilization moving somewhere else. And if you look at all the early places in the world where civilization is reputed to have begun, Mesopotamia, Persia, Egypt, Greece, Crete, all those places, they're now desertified lands. And that's happening all over the planet today. And in my view, the story of human civilization has been the story of exhausting the Earth's natural riches. And we need a new story now, which is one in which we still have to take something from the Earth. We need to eat our food, we need to dress ourselves in clothes, so we need to get something out, but we actually need to learn to give something back. And we need a new story that describes that enables our culture to become more of a symbiotic culture with the rest of nature, rather than what you might disparagingly say we are at the moment, which is a giant parasite on the planet, sucking the life force out of the earth and leaving nothing but waste and pollution and degradation behind us. And of course, it's not just the land, it's the seas too. A lot of that's happening out of sight in the oceans just now.
And what stories have you found? Because I work as a storyteller, so I'm fascinated in what stories you might have found that have inspired you. We might know some similar ones, I don't know.
Well, there's definitely some stories out there. I mean, there are people who've been visionary and inspired, for a long time. But some of the more recent ones, because my interest is mainly in trees, I look at it in terms of that sort of thing. You could look at something like The Man Who Planted Hope by Jean Giono.
Great story.
Which I know you're familiar with.
Yes.
Which is one man's dedication to bring an impoverished part of southern France back to life just through planting trees day after day, year after year. And the story I've learned through personal experience is when we work with the earth and with the life nurturing capacity of the earth, we can amplify, strengthen, reinforce that, and the earth responds. Because in my view, and I think this is very much the storyteller's view too, the earth is a living being, and any living being responds positively to love. And at the moment we're lacking love, we're lacking hope, we're lacking positivity in the world. The mainstream culture is dominated by stories of death and destruction in the news. So the story that's going out for most people today is the negative, destructive one. Turn on your television, look at the newspapers, it's terrorism, it's war, it's greed, it's crime, it's murder. That's the prevailing story. What we desperately need is positive stories. And they're out there, but they're not in the media eye. So The Man Who Planted Hope is one, I would say. There's a Dr. Seuss story called The Lorax, which is another one, a children's story, but children's stories are often very powerfully symbolic and deeply penetrating in simple language to the essence of things.
What happens in The Lorax?
The Lorax is about the spirit of the forest who watches his whole forest get cut down by the Onceler, who finds out that if he cuts down the truffula trees, he can make a totally useless product called the thneed, but he's a good marketer. So he sells these thneeds to everybody and builds a big factory, and they cut down all the truffula trees, and the land becomes a wasteland. People lose their jobs, the factory shuts down, and in the end he cuts down the last truffula tree, and all that's left is one seed, and the story is kind of left hanging. The Lorax has disappeared, but somebody gets this seed and says, I can maybe do something with it. And it's a powerful allegory, a symbol, for what we're doing in the world today. So we need those stories that are the seeds of the new culture, and storytelling, in my view, is crucially important because it reaches a different level of people's beings. It bypasses the left brain, the analytical, logical thinking, which runs conventional society, and penetrates to a deeper level. It resonates with people's hearts, it resonates with their childhood, with some of the things that they hold most dear.
I'm going to employ this man in the School of Storytelling. It's fantastic. Yes. For me, we all of us have seeds under our tongues, as it were. And a story has always been a power for me, a force, and a force that can change the world for better. So it's these kind of stories exactly that need to be told, that will give hope for the future. And they're things that people remember, stories. They carry them away, not like the information and the facts. We've got a huge information overload, I think. So we need two things. I think we need the story and the good stories that are inspiring us, uplifting us. And the second thing we need is action. So there's a part of me that also needs, as a storyteller, I feel, just to shut up and plant trees. Enough talking, but actually just to get down into action and to do the planting. Because really, who can replace, when you stand in the presence of a tree, you run out of words entirely, don't you? I mean, none of us, with all the words in the world, could possibly make something as beautiful and remarkable and strong and long-lasting as a tree. So, yeah, it comes down to doing it.